Sir Keir Starmer is claiming he has a moral imperative to fix the UK's benefits system, but morality has little to do with the proposals being pushed through by his government, and even less with the process by which they've been drawn up. He's trying to tell us the system is broken, but that kind of language is more political signalling than rational assessment. I'm Mike Sivyer of Vox Political. Buy me a coffee. If everybody watching this donated just £1 per month, and you can, this business will be entirely financially stable. Are you really telling me you can't afford a quid? Subscribe to the video mailing list, like and comment on this post, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, but watch this first to the end. Yes. The benefits system does have serious administrative flaws, especially around assessments, delays and appeals, but the idea that it's failing because it's too generous is not supported by the data. Unite General Secretary Sharon Graham is right to call the plans immoral. They target the most vulnerable, entrench inequality and attempt to disguise cuts as reform. Despite a climb down after a Labour backbench revolt and promises of review and consultation, the government's direction of travel remains unchanged. Reduce access, restrict eligibility, and divide the disabled community into existing and future claimants. What Starmer is pursuing is not moral leadership, it is managed decline dressed up as tough love. If the government was serious about a humane and effective welfare system, it would start by acknowledging that benefits like personal independence payment, which is not an out-of-work benefit and is not means tested, enable work rather than discourage it. Instead of labelling PIP a snare for people who can and do want to work, as Starmer did, ministers should recognise that the support it provides is often the only thing making work even possible for disabled people. What's needed is a genuine overhaul of the PIP assessment process, one that centres on disabled people's experiences and is designed in full consultation with their organisations before any changes to eligibility or entitlement are considered. Investment in support that makes work truly accessible, including workplace adjustments, transport, care and flexible working, is essential. And most importantly, any reform must apply fairly and equally to all disabled people, not divide them arbitrarily into winners and losers based on when they happen to fall ill or require an impairment. After significant backbench pressure, the government has announced several headline concessions, details of which are to be announced by Work and Pensions Secretary Liz Kendall on Monday. That's June 30, 2025. Plans to freeze the health-related component of universal credit have been scrapped. Instead, payments will continue to rise in line with inflation. That's a good thing. The stricter PIP criteria will now apply only to new claimants, not those already receiving support. That's not a good thing. A review of the PIP assessment process is promised with input from disability organisations. That might be. A £1 billion support package to help disabled people into work will be fast-tracked, and that might be good as well. But these changes only soften the original proposals. The direction remains the same. Restrict access to support and reduce the overall welfare bill at the expense of those least able to fight back. Well, what's wrong with it then? The two-tier system. By imposing stricter criteria only on new claimants, the government will create a grossly unfair two-tier benefits system. Future disabled people, especially the young, will be punished with harsher assessments and lower levels of support. That's not reform, it's rationing. It's not a fix, it's a phase out. Disability is not age-based, and this kind of generational divide raises both moral and legal questions. Process inversion. Reviewing the PIP process after proposing cuts is the very definition of putting the cart before the horse. Reform should be evidence-led and developed through consultation, not imposed and then retroactively justified. Work incentive mythology. The implication that benefits like PIP are a disincentive to work is false and insulting. PIP is not an out-of-work benefit. It exists to help disabled people meet the extra costs of living, regardless of employment status. Suggesting it traps people is ideological nonsense. Lack of consultation. Labour backbenchers have been blindsided with little to no prior consultation. Disability organisations, likewise, were not brought into the conversation until after the backlash. This is top-down policy making at its most cynical. Untrustworthy timelines. The £1 billion fast-tracked support package might sound good, but no detail has been provided on what fast actually means, and similar promises in the past have been long on rhetoric and short on delivery. If it's simply a rebranding or repackaging of existing schemes, as has often been the case in DWP so-called reforms, it won't have any worth. Opposition to the plans has been fierce and growing. While the original reasoned amendment to the Universal Credit and Personal Independence Payments Bill has been dropped, around 50 Labour MPs are currently said to be backing a new one, with more expected, depending on what Liz Kendall announces on Monday. Leaders of the Backbench Rebellion are preparing to give a briefing to disability charities on Monday evening that will be key in shaping the moral and media narrative ahead of the vote. Debbie Abrahams, chair of the Work and Pensions Select Committee, called the concessions a good start, but said they don't go far enough to protect new claimants. Diane Abbott has warned that a vote on the new proposals will be tight, citing discontent from Labour colleagues and frustration over the lack of consultation. Unite has called for the entire welfare bill to be dropped, branding the proposals divisive and sinister. General Secretary Sharon Graham said the changes would deny access to work and education and create a two-tier system that is morally wrong. Welsh Labour MPs are reported to be universally opposed to the plans, and the response to Starmer's speech at the Welsh Labour conference was notably cool. Keir Starmer insists that fixing the welfare system is a moral imperative. But morality demands fairness, dignity and justice, not stealth cuts, political spin and second-class support for future generations of disabled people. His rhetoric leans heavily on an appeal to responsibility and fiscal prudence, but what's missing is any moral recognition of dignity, autonomy or justice for disabled people. If Labour truly wants to reform the system in a Labour way, it must start by listening, not just to MPs and unions, but to the disabled people whose lives these reforms will reshape. And it must be prepared to change course before the damage is done. Liz Kendall's statement on Monday has to do more than placate rebels. It needs to convince the public, reassure disabled communities, and defuse a potentially fracturing rebellion. That's a tall order, especially given how many groups feel blindsided by the tin-eared original proposals. I've been Mike Sivier, and it's time to buy me that coffee now. Donate more than £20 and I'll give you a free copy of my reissued first book, Strong Words and Hard Times. Subscribe to the video mailing list, like and comment on this video post, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you do all that, you'll be helping keep the channel alive, and if you've watched this far, I'm assuming you'd quite like that to happen. And then you'll be able to see me in the next one.